Welcome to part 2 of McCall's 7985 SewAlong. Here's what we'll be covering in part 2. We'll be adjoining the back pieces, and you would need your basic sewing skills for that. And you can find that at the top here, so just click that if you need help with that. And next we will be sewing the back yoke, and if you need help with that, just go ahead and click the link above. If you already know how I do my sew-along videos, and if you will be kind enough to watch at least one ad if they should appear, feel free to go ahead and skip ahead to the 3-minute, 30-second mark to go straight to the sew-along. Here's a little bit about how I do my Sew With Me sew-alongs. Techniques, I'm going to put it on the website, and I will reference it in the sew-along itself. So, for example, we're working on a pair of pants that has a fly front. So when we get to that portion in the sew-along, I'll do a little bit of it, in instructions in the sew-along itself, but then I'm going to refer you over to the website to go ahead and look at that video, that particular video, look it over, study it, do your own sample if you want, because I'm big on that technique binder. So go ahead and and do that, and then once you get a good hang of what that technique is, then come back onto the sew-along itself and do that particular technique with the sew-along. So that way we both kind of benefit. You still get the instruction of the actual sew-along, step by step of how to do a particular thing. But it's less editing on my part because, like I said, I'll mention it in the sew-along itself, but then I'll refer you over to the website to actually find that particular technique, and go ahead, review it, look at it. And then once you master it or enough to where even you sew along, at the same time and install it in that particular sew-along that you're doing at that time. So hopefully that will be okay for you, because I think I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank everyone for watching my videos. I love to upload the videos. I love to share my knowledge. And I'm pretty sure that you guys love to get free content. So in order for me to keep uploading free content, I just need you to do some simple things for me, some very simple things. The first thing is just to hit the subscribe button. So just make sure that you hit that. So you're subscribed to my channel. Hit the notification bell so when I upload a new video, you don't miss out and you get to see it. And then also, if there's an ad on my videos, they're typically anywhere from 10 seconds to maybe up to 2 minutes. Just go ahead and either watch it or do something else you want to do in those in that particular time that ad is running. So use the restroom, go get something to drink or something like that. Because that way, if you let that ad run, I benefit from YouTube, and that way I can still keep creating content and uploading it for free. Okay. Enough of that boring stuff. Back to the sew-along. Please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Thanks for watching. I'm going to be starting with 3 just because I'm going to underline my upper front, because it is a little sheer, and so I'm just doing it for modesty purposes. So I will be underlining, which all it is you are sewing 2 pieces together so they will act as one piece. Okay, and all you do is sew it together within the seam allowance. So when you do the seam allowance, of course, that original stitch or basting stitch is not seen. So you're just basically treating it as one. So I cut out, instead of 2 pieces, I cut out 4 pieces. Okay. And you're just going to lay them, because as you can see, it's a little sheer, because you can see underneath and see my blue here. So that's one way to tell if your fabric is a little bit too sheer for you, is if you have one of these type of boards that has a color to it. You know, if you can see too much of that board, maybe it's a little bit too sheer, unless that's the look you're going for. Sometimes like with cover up swimwear, that's the look you're going for. And as you can see, by adding that second layer, it gives you a lot more modesty there. So, oops, did that like that, sorry. So I just, for example, this one, you're just going to line it up right on top of one another. Right on top of one another. Line up all the edges. And once you do that, it's best to hand sew. Now I'm going to tell you the proper way to do it is to hand sew it. Okay? So this is basically all lined up. Is to hand sew within the seam allowance. So seam allowance here is 5/8, so I'm going to sew within it. You do a 1/4 inch, you can do a 1/2 inch, as long as it's within that seam allowance. So it's best to hand sew and try to keep the fabric flat as you are hand sewing it. You know me, you guys. That's a little bit too much for me. So even if it shifts a little bit, I'm typically okay with that. So I'll typically go to the machine and baste it. Okay, but of course you got to stick some pins in there so it won't shift while you take it over to the machine. But I just wanted to show you that I will be underlining my front pieces for modesty purposes. And if you have to do that with yours, that's how you do it. Okay, so I finished underlining, and I'll show you kind of up close. There we go. So what I wanted to tell you is at each one of the intersections, you basically just, where are we at? You basically just sew off the end of the fabric. Sew off the end of the fabric, and then you come back at that intersection. I keep moving it, I'm so sorry. Okay, so you sew off the fabric, okay, and then when you come back going this way, that intersection coming this way, you start at the edge of the fabric, back stitch, and then continue. Okay, so that's how you do that. And you do that for each one of the intersections. So basically you don't pivot. So don't pivot so don't go here, pivot, go that way. Okay, you actually just sew off your fabric, then come back the other way, back stitch, sew off the fabric, come back this way, back stitch, you know, and so forth and so on. All right, so now as you can see, you can't really see the blue underneath, so it gives more of a modesty silhouette there. And just to show you on this side, you know, because I do it the machine way instead of the hand basting way, my fabric can shift some, grow some, however you know you want to say it. So I'll show you this way. As you can see, one is longer than the other, right? But it's not by much. So, but if you want to, you can go ahead and make it even and then just cut the longer piece off. You know, if it bothers you too much. It doesn't bother me that much, so I'm just going to leave it as is. But that is understitching. So now we're going to go per the instructions the way that it's telling us to go. And the first thing is it's telling us to stitch the center back seam in the back of number 1. So you need pattern piece number 1. Go ahead and get that. So I'll put this aside for right now, which is the back. Just showing you here the directions. It is to stitch center back seam and back number 1. So pattern piece number 1, and you're going to sew down the center back seam. Of course, it's going to be right sides together, so find your pattern piece number 1. Alrighty, and it's the side with the notches. Okay, So go ahead and pin along the center back seam and go ahead and stitch at it 5/8 of a seam allowance and come back. I won't show you this at the machine because it's basically just a straight stitch, okay? Back from the sewing machine, and as you see, I already finished my seam here, but once you sew your seam, make sure to press it flat, press it open, and then finish your seam as you desire. So zigzag or serger if you have it. All right, so steps here 3 through 6 are all about applying the back yoke, okay? And I will be doing a different way. So if you want to do the method that I'm doing, pause your video, click that link at the top of your screen, and it'll take you to how I do my back yoke, okay? Once you finish reviewing it, or you can even sew along to it, come back here and we'll start up again at the next portion of the instructions. So you should have joined at this point your yoke and yoke facing to your back pattern piece, okay? And go ahead and finish it, either zigzag or serge, okay? So at this point, your pieces should look like this, and this is from the right side. And of course, iron. Make sure whenever you sew a seam, iron that seam prior to you finishing that seam, okay? So that's the right side. This is the wrong side, and this is the yoke facing. All right, moving on. Number 8. We're skipping number 7 because that's only for view B. So number 8, turn in front opening edge of upper front 3 along outer fold line, press base upper and lower edges. So it's basically saying turn it in one time, press it the upper and lower, and then you're going to turn it a second time, and then you're going to baste along the inner fold in order to secure it. And you need pattern pieces number 3. So move this out the way for Neil. So I get pattern piece number 3, and this is front band basically. I put notches for the fold lines, okay? So I put a notch there if you can see it. All right, and then notch, okay. So what they want you to do is fold it there like that, matching up if you did a line or you're not. So you will be folding it to the inside, to the wrong side, okay? You're going to go ahead and give that a press. Once you press that, you're going to base the lower edge and the upper edge, and then you're going to fold it again on your second line that you should have. All right. And then you're going to press that, and once you press that, you're going to sew down the inside fold there. You're going to baste it down to secure it, okay? On both pieces. One more thing before you go to the sewing machine. Once you turn it to the second fold to the inside and you base along that inner fold, they want you to base at the top to secure it at the top, and then base along the bottom to secure it at the bottom. And then you're going to turn it to the right side. So the right side should be face up looking at you. This is number 10. And you're going to use that basting seam that you did as a guideline and do a permanent stitch, which is just a straight stitch, using that basting stitch as a guide. All right, so that is 8 through 10. Go ahead and do that and come back. I just wanted to show you a tip that I do. I have this board. One side is for cutting, the other side is for ironing, and it's cushioned, right? So what I do is, it's like a stick pin. You can just stick the pin in it. You know, you don't have to actually pin it the traditional way, so you use it like a tack. And that's what I do to fold along that crease line. Fold along that crease line, and then I put the pins in it basically as a tack just to hold it in place. And then I put a pressing cloth on the edge of it like that, and I press. That way I'm not really getting the pins, but I'm able to get a crease line. And then when I get it, the crease line, I can take out the pins, and I can go back over the full. Like that. And press the full thing down. Pressing, remember, it's pressing, holding it, lifting it up. We don't iron it like traditional. We are just pressing it down. It's always good to use a press cloth no matter what. You know, even if you think it's a fabric that don't really need it, go ahead and do a press cloth. And so that way you have a nice little fold crease line there, and that's how I do it. So I just wanted to give you guys that little tip. So you should have finished your front band here, and now they tell you to remove the basting stitch. And by the way, I do my top stitch at a 3.0 stitch length, so they tell you to remove it, but usually I do not unless it's really off, because I like the way it gives it more of that top stitch thickness look versus just a regular you know, one layer of stitching here versus here. It really pops out. So it's up to you how you want to do it, if you want to remove your basting stitches or not. So go ahead and give that a good press. So once you give both pieces a good press, I want you to pause the video again and continue on with the video that I have for doing your yoke, or if you have your own method, go ahead and do that. So pause the video, finish the yoke, the back yoke. Okay, so once you finish the burrito method, you should have something that looks like that. You want to gently pull it out from the opening. Oh, make sure to finish your seams, okay? Gently pull it out from the opening, and you should have a finished look seam, I should say, on the outside, on the outside of your garment, okay, as well as on the inside of your garment. Okay, give everything a good press, and we'll pick up with part 3 next time.
Hello, don't forget to like, subscribe, and notifications so you don't miss out of my mom's videos. Bye!